right, welcome. At this time, I'd like to call to order Planning and Zoning Board meeting, City of Lake City. Will all please rise? Ms. Mayor, would you do us the honors of the invocation and please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance?
Father God, we come before you tonight, thank you and praise you for this day. You kept us safe all day. And we pray, God, that as we come to conduct meetings, we ask that you would meet us where we are, help us to be on one accord, and that everything be done for your glory and your honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and with justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, Mr. Angelo.
Ms. McCollum?
Here.
Mr. Nelson? Mr. Mann?
Here.
Mr. Carter?
Present.
And Mr. Leidy?
Present. All right, a quorum having been assembled, we can continue. Electronically, the meeting minutes from our meeting on the 7th of November were distributed to members of the board. I trust everyone had the opportunity to look those over. This time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as submitted? All right, hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Motion to adopt meeting minutes 11/7/23.
Second.
Carter and McCallum, by hand vote, all in favor? Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, we have meeting minutes. Seeing that we have no old business to circle back around to, under new business, petition Z23-08, petition submitted by Kathy Ebaugh, acting as agent for Millennium Bank Shares, INC owner, to amend official zoning atlas of the land development regulations by changing the zoning district from commercial general and commercial intensive to commercial highway interchange on property described as follows: Columbia County parcels 027140009 and 027120001.
Mr. Angelo, we'll go ahead and swear you one time, and then you just remain under oath. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give, and throughout this meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. All right, so this is for Z23-08, parcel number 02714-009 and 02712-001. They're looking to rezone that parcel from commercial intensive and commercial general and combine it all into the commercial highway interchange. This land would be conducive for use per the LDR 4.15.2. And for the proposed use that they're looking for, they would still need a special exception.
All right, we have had a comment from the public. Would it be possible for us to get page 15 of this particular petition packet thrown up on the board over there with our AV?
For which one?
Page 15 of petition Z23-08. That would be the illustration that that was requested. All right, at this time, do we have Kathy Ebaugh here to speak as agent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm obviously not Kathy Ebaugh.
No, I didn't figure.
Kathy is I'm sorry, my name is Anthony Brown.
We're not at that part yet.
Okay.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give in front of the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Okay, my name is Anthony Brown. I go by the name of Jay, but my real name is Anthony. I'm with JV Pro in Gainesville. Our address is 3530 Northwest 43rd Street, Gainesville, Florida, 32606. Is that what you need, Mr. Angelo?
Yes, sir. All righty. Mr. Cannon, do we need to ensure that he is on the agent's list in the packet?
I think it would be, I think the agent list is at the business entity, Mr. Angelo?
See you around.
It's listed as JB Pro and Ms. Ebo.
Yes. Okay, so by having the name of the firm, he can present testimony as proponent or agent thereof.
Correct.
All right, what would you like to do?
Mr. Chair, I'm the owner and principal engineer of JV Pro in Gainesville. As I mentioned, Kathy is our principal planner. And so she had, worked on the application, and I communicated with Robert throughout, this process as we go on through the process. So the plan that we have here is to take, this is 2 parcels, it's about 34.2 acres, I believe. The property's is owned by, I think it's Millennium Bank Shares, which is commonly referred to as Millennium Bank. It's owned by a bank. The prospective developer would like to develop this property as an RV park. The market seems to be very ready and able to support a location in this location for an RV park. It's located next to the Collector Road US 90 and the Interstate I-75, which is kind of the perfect location for CHI. That's what that zoning category, commercial highway interchange, is designed for. The surrounding zoning supports that rezoning. The only reason why we're changing it from one commercial zoning category to another is because in the CHI zoning category, it has an allowable use that can go forward with a special exception, as Mr. Angelo mentioned, for that use. So that is our plan. This is step 1 in the process. Step 1 would be the rezoning to CHI. Step 2 would be to bring before you a special exception where we would present to you the design of the park so that we could look at buffers and open space and stormwater management and environmental, wetlands, all that type of stuff. So that you'll have the opportunity to see that plan in the future before we proceed, and obviously the public will be able to see that plan as well. We have worked on the plan, as you might imagine, and so we are convinced that it's a great location for us for this property. We think our application demonstrates that this is an appropriate zoning category for this location, and with that being said, I'm here to answer any questions you might have as well.
All right, do we have any questions from board members for agent of proponent?
This is a combination of county and city zoning, the current, so the proposal is to put all as city highway interchange, is that correct?
That is correct.
To be consistent. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing and seeing none, you may be seated.
Thank you.
This time, do we have anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against Z23-08 as presented by the proponent? You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very nice. You know the drill.
Barbara Limley, 393 Northwest Fairway Drive, Lake City. I don't have any concerns about the change in zoning. I think it's a good idea. There's lots of RV parks. My concern is the access to it. Right now, that road is in pretty terrible shape, and people speed along it, and I just wanted to find out if this gets approved, would they have to do any improvements to the road, the road structure as far as a turning lane? And I know that's not anything you can answer, but maybe that can come up in his plan, because this is where the VA is, and right here, used to be a lot of homeless people over there, but it's just wet up here. I don't know if it goes over to here, but this road here needs to be improved if it's going to be an RV park. It's kind of narrow, kind of skippy.
All right, and a question for the agent first. Sir, I see you do have a preliminary internal transportation plan. Obviously, as we move to getting a special exception for this and reviewing the full analyses, a transportation analysis more than the preliminary internal will likely be conducted to make sure that transportation routes are sufficient?
Yes, that would be standard protocol. We would perform a traffic study to deal with the trip generation that would be required. There's standard traffic engineering practices in terms of determining whether or not a turn lane would be required. We obviously would be, a majority of the traffic will be coming to and from US 90. So there would obviously be a right turn lane to pull off of Commerce Drive as you got in to enter the site. We'll be, having RVs, recreation vehicles, large vehicles, so we would want to make that as a safe movement. So from the standpoint of would a turn lane be required, if the question is whether or not a right turn lane would be required, I think it absolutely will be required, and that improvement would be made on Commerce Drive. I'm not certain that which would be like a westbound left turn lane would necessarily be required, because there just probably won't be that many of the trips coming from that direction. But yes, whatever improvements are necessitated, we would work with your staff during the review process of the development plan and work together on any required improvements. If roadway improvements were required at our connection point, and that was worked out with staff, we would be more than willing to do so.
And Mr. Angelo, when we see the petitioner again for the special exception, after that, do we still need to do a site plan review, or will that be taking place at the same time as the special exception?
Once the rezoning's done, then you go to special exception, and then once that's done, then you would go to site plan.
Okay, so we are going to see this petitioner
Yes.
thrice?
Yeah.
It's a three-step process. Now,
Yeah.
we will work on some of the issues, the broader issues of the property with the special exception as they're appropriate for that process, but it'll, continue to expand and get down to more details when we get to the third step of the process. But
All
I mean,
right,
I think looking at the transportation is an important piece for sure.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gentleman in the checkered shirt,
Yes. Yeah, so,
gotta do this part first, that's fine. You swear the testimony you're about to give in front of this board this evening to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
it is.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Yeah, my name is Jim, last name is Zuber, and my legal address is 2356 Southwest Little Road. And I'm here to speak on behalf of Mr. Scott Stewart, who is the owner of Cornerstone Property, who owns the property adjacent as developer there where the VA is currently residing. And just to mainly speak that we're cautiously in support of this zoning change. Some of our concerns are that the county and the city need to team up together to make that road extension as it comes off of US 90 connecting over to Railroad and the fairgrounds be one continuous sidewalk, widened, thought out entity as part of the development of that. It's pretty obvious, as the prior speaker said, that it's not adequate. Most people walking in wet ditches hazarding themselves to go from that development over to the services or even some work at Cracker Barrel and the restaurants in there. So that's gonna be a very important part of the review of the site plan and the planning that goes into that. Our cautious also is a little bit on the ability to screen adjacent to the VA. That zoning classification doesn't require much buffer. And I think I would really request to be more buffer considered with a fence, given that you're gonna have a lot of activity and vehicles and things. We have a lot of people coming and going from the VA, and preserving the look of that's gonna be really important. Also, not having another entrance close to that access point that comes into the VA, which is adjacent to that property, is gonna be an important part of our concerns with the future design. Have had a tentatively look at the design, and we're supportive of what they're doing. There's a lot of options of what that property could have been through the years, but it is wet. This is a challenging site to develop, and being close to interstate, I think it's gonna be a great opportunity. So really buffering and improvement of the roads are our two biggest concerns, and that we beautify the neighborhood and leave the access positive. So that's our vote there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may address those comments. We agree with those comments. We and when we started looking at this property, looking at that adjacent property with the VA, we also feel it's important to buffer it. So our preliminary plans, we do plan for a buffer. We're very happy to meet with Mr. Zuber and Mr. Stewart, the property owner, and work out a plan for fencing and buffering and that sort of thing. So we're amenable to that. And we'll try to do our part with, the road. I mean, we can't solve all the problems out there for everything that's happening for all the surrounding properties and things, but to the extent that, our part, and, we are definitely willing to contribute to that if it means, putting sidewalks at, our frontage or, what that means, I don't know. We'll have to work with you guys and your staff. But the other thing is I was also sensitive to your comment about the driveway being close to the existing driveway, because their existing driveway is, if I don't mind, I'll point here,
Please do.
is all the way over, right up against our property, right there. So, my thinking was, and I'll go back to the microphone, but I wanted to move our driveway further to the west for two reasons. Number one, to have separation from that driveway so there's no conflict. But number two, to also get vehicles, to round the corner and get to a straightaway before they have to turn. So I think, the traffic circulation for our development is going to work well within the framework of the comments that they're thinking about. But we were definitely sensitive to that as we were looking at that as well. So those comments are not incongruent with what we're planning, and we're happy to, work with them on that. So thank you.
Thank you. This time, is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition Z23-08? Hearing and seeing none, at this time, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
Carter and McMahon, motion in the second, by hand vote.
Aye.
Aye, hands down, likewise opposed. All right, at this time, public comment is closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments. Everything looks to be pretty good with the staff review and analysis. Any last minute questions, comments, concerns come in from departments?
No comments at this point. It matches up, it's contiguous with the commercial highway interchange district already. So kind of just like an extension of that district there.
That map is, yes, in the staff reports right there. All right, any other discussion amongst members of the board?
I like hearing about all the people working together and trying to come up to these good solutions. Makes sense. Well, we'll be seeing this again.
If there's no additional discussion among members of the board or city departments, at this time, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove petition Z23-08 as presented by petitioner?
Motion to approve Z23-08 as presented.
Second.
That's Carter and McCallum with the motion and the second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Lighty.
Yay. Unanimous approval for petition Z23-08. Congratulations, and we'll see you when you're ready for your special exception.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving along, we have two petitions that we'll be hearing simultaneously. We have CPA 23-07 and Z23-09. Petition submitted by Carol Chadwick as agent for OM Shanty Investments Group LLC as owner to amend future land use map from residential medium to commercial and to amend the official zoning atlas of the land development regulations from residential office and residential multifamily 2 to commercial intensive on property described as follows. Parcel 02677-001, 02658-001. All right, Mr. Angelo, while we get this up on our screens, would you please introduce this petition?
Yes. All right, so this one is CPA 23-07 and Z 23-09. Requires both a comprehensive plan amendment to take the future land use from residential medium to commercial, and then also change the zoning designation from residential office and residential multifamily to one zoning, which would be commercial intensive. This is contiguous to the commercial intensive district right across the street on Faith Road. It does border a residential neighborhood, which is residential single family, so it will require a 15-foot landscape buffer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Angelo. Ms. Chadwick. Wonderful to see you again.
Hello.
You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
You know the drill.
Carol Chadwick, CAROLCHADWICK, 1208 Southwest Fairfax Glen, Lake City.
All right, please explain for the board what you'd like to try to accomplish.
The owners of the property are looking at putting in a small retail location. It's a fairly small lot, so it's going to be limited on what we can do there. We understand that it is adjacent to single-family residential, and we're aware that with the site plan, we'll make sure all buffering is complied with. We've also looked at the traffic flow for the site, and the driveway for this will actually come off of Faith, not off of Bascom Norris. So we don't want to increase the traffic there, entering Bascom Norris. And that is the same zoning as the county has across Faith Road. And
And then let's see, that would be
I don't know if you
the,
have any other question. It's kitty corner for BAM.
just trying to bounce between a couple different PDFs here.
Yeah, and honestly, that parcel will never be used for residential. It's not,
It's an interesting configured lot, I'll give
it
you
is
that.
very interesting, and I don't think that there will ever be any residential put on that. It's just not a good location.
All right, do we have any questions from the board for agent of owner? All right, you may be seated. All right, at this time, do we have anyone in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition CPA 23-07 or Z 23-09 as presented? All right, seeing and hearing none, at this time, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second?
With Carter and McMahon on the second, by hand vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Hands down, likewise opposed? All right, unanimous on closing public comment. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments.
So this is similar to the previous one, we would see this again, site plan, et cetera?
Yeah. Yeah, this is exclusively for the planning atlas and the zoning change. We would have to see this again, either for a special exception or for site plan review. So we're guaranteed to see it at least one more time, depending on what goes on it.
Well, I'm glad to hear the driveway's gonna go on Faith, because I drove by that this morning and it gets busy. Baskin Norris is hot, so that's good, to have it spill out there.
Going back to that. Yes, there's the CI across the way. All right, any other discussion amongst members of the board or city departments? Everyone's cool with this downstairs? All righty. At this time, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove petition CPA 23-07 and Z 23-09? As a point of order, Mr. Canning, can we vote on these simultaneously, or do I have to call for two different yays and nays?
I would call for two different ones, just so your record's clear.
Very nice. This time, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove petition CPA 23-07 as submitted by agent of owner?
Motion to approve CPA 23-07.
Second.
We have a motion and Ms. Mary with the second. This time, Mr. Angelo, will you call the yeas and the nays on CPA 23-07 only?
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Van,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Leidy.
Yay. Passing unanimously. Do we have a motion to approve or disapprove partnering petition Z 23-09 as submitted?
Motion to approve Z 23-09 as submitted.
Second.
Mr. James, Mr. Sean. Please call the yeas and the nays.
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Laydick.
Yay. Passing unanimously on both petitions. We'll see you in the future. Oh, actually, we'll see you a lot quicker than I thought.
Yeah.
All right, item of business number 4. Petition SD 23-04, petition submitted by Carol Chadwick as agent for Kevin Biedenbaugh Jr., owner, for a preliminary plat of parcel 13536-005 in a residential multifamily 2 zoning district located upon parcel ID being the same, which is regulated by the Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, Section 4.9. All right, Mr. Angelo, please introduce this petition for the benefit of the board.
All right, so this one is for SD 23-04, and it located on parcel 13536-005. It is on residential multifamily 2, and they are looking to divide this lot to be able to develop it. And this is a preliminary replat. So once this is done, they will still need to provide their construction plans. And then once that phase is done, then it will go into a final plating, which will go in front of the city council and be read as a resolution.
Okay, oh, it's that part, I gotcha. All right, anything else? All right. Come on down, Ms. Carroll. I remind you, you are still under oath.
Okay. We are requesting approval of the preliminary plat for this parcel that Robert just went over. It was previously zoned multifamily, and we have gone through and met all of the requirements specified in the Lake City Land Development Regulations. I think we actually have the construction plans ready to go as soon as we are, get approval for the preliminary plat.
And yes, I see those included as additional attachments on the application, okay? All right, do we have anything from members of the board for agent of owner?
So what are we looking at on each lot?
The 2 lots on the west side are going to be quadplexes, and then there will be 4 duplex lots. And they're all on city sewer and water.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments for the proponent? All right, you may be seated. Is there anyone else in attendance this evening that would like to speak either for or against petition SD 23-04? Oh, is this the one everyone's here for? Okay, all right. Before we begin, does everyone plan to speak to this one this evening, or?
If necessary, yes.
Okay, quick show of hands. All right, so, for those of you that haven't been to one of these before, I don't like using that clock. Respect the board's time, and we'll let you say what you need to say. If something has already been mentioned 3 or 4 times, just indicate that you support the previous person's statement, and we can keep moving on, because I have seen these things last 3 and sometimes 4 hours, and I don't want to keep everyone here that long. So be respectful, and we won't have to turn that clock on. All right. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Nancy Rogers. NANCY-ROGERS. Address is 1097 Southeast Violet Place, Lake City, Florida 32025.
And ma'am, for For the purposes of your comment, would it be beneficial if I ask our AV specialist to bring up page 5 of the petition?
Sure.
You have to give me just a second.
If you'd like to begin.
Go ahead,
while he's
start.
working on
Okay,
that, you
that's
may do
fine,
so.
because I know there's several that do need to speak. But I think the primary concern that all of us have in the neighborhood is the fact that we only have one ingress and egress. At that area that you come out is right there at Casey's Produce, okay? That stop sign, we have the Veterans Domiciliary that sits back at the back, and we have the veterans in constant route on their cars back and forth. There is no crosswalk. You're talking about adding another 32 plus cars to a neighborhood. The roads up until this last year were not taken care of at all. The subdivision went probably 20 years with potholes, holes in the road that the city had not taken care of. And it wasn't until this immediately came into existence that we approached Mr. Angelo and explained to him what our concerns were. And the next thing we knew, the roads were being repaired and swept and taken care of. I think probably the other thing that is a big concern is that those of us that live there, especially where I'm at, have springs underneath that ground. It's loaded with springs. My neighbor, who will speak in a few minutes, Patrick, had some that were repaired underneath his house prior to mine. My house has adjustments with soil. So the question is the watershed that we're looking at, it doesn't look like there's a runoff place, and where the one is sitting sideways on that, the duplex is sitting sideways is just, it's right where that water, yes, it's right where that water holds on that far end. There is no real drainage set in place the way this is set up, and currently the way it's set up, a lot of these members here tonight are gonna get runoff in their backyards from this. Not to mention, I would imagine that these are quadplexes, they're gonna be 2-story, is what I'm thinking, with the small lot that they're sitting on. But you're talking about privacy issues, and the traffic is the biggest thing. I think probably the traffic, getting the police in and out. When we had this last hurricane, we ran into a tree coming down across the road. None of us could get in and out of the subdivision until somebody came and removed that. So I think that's probably our biggest concern is let's not get in a hurry to put 32. If you ever had gone down past the Jehovah's Witness Church in the evenings and seen the duplexes there and the amount of traffic that is blocking the streets where the people are parking. And there's times that we go to get out onto Bay, and folks, I've sat 10, 15 minutes waiting to get a spot, and those people are flying up that hill. They come flying up that hill just as they get there. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
I'd like to address some comments.
Oh.
Well, first of all, these are just one-story buildings. They're one-story buildings only. And if you look at the construction documents, you can see that I took extreme care to ensure that there would be no runoff from this development entering these people's yards. We wanted to make sure so you'd see it's extensively graded, and there's elevations everywhere to make sure that they will not be impacted by it.
And for clarification, Mr. Angelo, because this is a proposal for replatting, we will see this again potentially for a site plan review, since this is multifamily as opposed to single family, correct?
Yeah, because of the Florida Building Code, being that there's 3 dwellings or more involved in it, it will have to come back with a site plan review.
Okay, and I suspect part of that site plan review will involve hydrology and potential runoff channeling issues.
Yeah, you'll have to have a traffic analysis along with stormwater management plans and fire flows and everything.
Excellent. All right, who would like to speak next? Please come down. You swear that the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Okay, my name is Deborah Charles, DeBrachales. My address is 1096 Southeast Violet Place, 32025.
All right. Please speak.
Okay, pretty well much what Nancy has said about the water falling off. This has been a problem since I've been there. I live on Violet Place, same street as hers. It's the third street back there. I've been back there for almost 40 years and I've seen what's happened and what hasn't happened. The water is already coming out of my backyard into my neighbor's yard where I'm at as it is. It also is coming in where they've already cleaned off the lot. I'm seeing a lot of the water coming through and making these little cracks coming in my backyard. That is true there. But the main thing I'm concerned at is I had family from many years ago that lived back there and were Indians. And there are all kinds of artifacts back there. There's been people going up there since they cleaned the land off, going off and picking up arrowheads and stuff. I have spoke to them about it when I seen them out there. They bring the cars and start digging. This is after it's been leveled down or cleaned out. I spoke to them and of course they stopped coming around, but there is a lot of artifacts back in there and I wanted to take that, consideration. There's no red lights there. And probably the most important thing I've got to say is that traffic until lately it's gotten worse lately. But about 7 or 8 years ago, when Arrow was going in and out, 5 o'clock traffic, it was a big deal because my son got ready to leave and on that curve across from KC's or on that curve and hill at one time, his whole entire half of his car got hit and found him on the road because they were going to probably the accurate speed, but you can't see who's coming in and out, and that's our only exit there. I won't keep this long because I know that you've got other people that would like to say something, but it's more than what people are letting on to be back there. I was the only one back there for many years on that back street, and I've watched it grow. We've got real good neighbors around there. Traffic's gotten worse. Even the semis come down there to the domicile to, deliver their food and necessities and all. They're even speeding down there. So I don't see how we're gonna make this work with no red light, green light, and one street or one exit. There's only one exit. Veterans domicile is back there. All those people had to come out there, and there are, it's a pretty. I live on the second street, second house on the right, and where they will be building is gonna be right behind my house. I've got, I've spent a lot of time and money in that place, and to see it happen to this, and I'm all about affordable housing. But my question is, what about USDA? Is there something like that you can do? Because affordable housing, we know, what that can do. I just wanted to throw that last piece in there. Any questions?
Anything for the commenter? All right, you may be seated. Would anyone else like to speak either for or against petition SD 23-04?
I would like to not necessarily speak against it. My name's Dan Gurna. Oh wait, I have to be sworn in.
Yeah, just finishing recording her notes. You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr.
Dan
Angelo.
Gurna, Gherna. My address is 1201 Southeast Magnolia Loop. And I don't know whether you guys know that the subdivision is part county, part city. Okay, I'm the county. I wasn't notified about this until Nancy let me know, and that's not the issue. The issue, this is a serious safety issue. I would ask all of you, drive through that subdivision and think about adding 20, 25 more cars. When the zoning was changed, Mr. O'Neill was a big part of that. He owned that property. We were told, the city said they had, I think, 20 or 25 feet on either side. and they could extend the road. That needs to happen before we even think about rezoning this property and putting more properties back there. And if I could speak very briefly to the environment or the springs. This area right here, this was a lake at one time. It was a pond.
Yes.
People used to come through here, Mike Tillotson, when his family owned the nursery over here, said he used to cut through my yard, which is right here, and go down here and go fishing. You've got springs going all through that, but you know, they do have the zoning. I'm all about private property rights. I believe in that, but please come out there, see for yourself what the ingress and egress is like before you make a decision. Thank you.
All right. Ma'am. You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Jane Wilson, Jayne, Wilson. 1082 Southeast Violet Place, Lake City 32025. I'm a horrible public speaker.
Doing fine.
But I agree with everything my neighbors have said. This property backs right up to my home. I'm on the corner of Violet and Sycamore. And the way they graded it, it used to go downhill towards the domiciliary, and now behind my house, it's about 6 feet above the ground. If you go back around there, you can look at the property and the stop sign. And the roads are really bad. Even though they did fill the potholes, drive back there, it's patched everywhere. There's water running down Sycamore all the time. And the other thing that I'll bring up that nobody else has is that a lot of the veterans in their wheelchairs go straight up the road. They don't use a sidewalk. And you say, sir, they made a nice sidewalk for you, and they yell at you, because I'm a veteran. And you go over a hill and around a corner to get down there, and somebody's gonna kill them. The speed limit in my neighborhood is 15 miles an hour. These people do, nobody else does. And I agree with everything else everybody else said.
Thank you. You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Dylan Adams, 130 North Marion Avenue, Lake City. So this parcel has already been zoned multifamily, correct?
Correct. It's being replatted, but yes, it's already in a multifamily state.
Okay, and when was that done?
I'm not sure of the date that it was done, but it's a couple years
Within the
ago.
last 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Longer than that.
2006? Okay. So it's been multifamily for 20 years, right? No one's developed it. I don't know about anybody in this room, but you can't find a rental in this county. Nobody wants an apartment complex to go here. Nobody wants a trailer park to go here. Nobody wants anything, right? I understand the concerns. I grew up in this neighborhood, went to Melrose, and used to ride my skateboard down that sidewalk when there was a lot less traffic, right? Grandma used to live across the street from Casey's Produce. You used to be able to hop across there and get boiled peanuts, right? I get it. This is already zoned multifamily. We're talking about moving lines in an already zoned property, okay? The grade that's there, the water that's moving, if those are issues, those are taken up when the project is going forward. Now, if somebody's gone in there and cleared the land with a mulch mower, okay, and it's draining improperly, then that's something we need to get with code enforcement. We we need to get through the proper channels and get it addressed, right? If the roads are repaired, that's a great thing. I think that's to the city doesn't have a lot of positivity going on right now. If they're able to repair a road and fix something, that's great. You know, to Mr. Gurna's concern, that this is not a zoning change, I heard zoning change. So I just want to, for a point of order, we can get back to the record, I just want to make sure this is a replat.
It's a replat.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Okay, so I don't have a vested interest, I don't have any capital invested in this. I primarily do site selection for commercial properties throughout the state. When there's not enough housing and you don't have rooftops, you don't have employees for companies. This nice lady's had me talk about some things before. We were gonna do a rezoning next to the softball fields, right? They wanna put some apartment complexes. That developer pulled out because of all the issues with the community, right? When I say issues, it's hard to get things done here. So we either want growth and development and we want all these new stores, or we don't. I just sat and heard Scott Stewart's partner get up here and talk about putting in an RV park. There's one across the street. Daniel Craps just sold a big old parcel past that log cabin. They're gonna get an RV park. We either wanna grow as a city or we don't. And I get it. You don't want multifamily behind your house. We should have had that conversation 20 years ago, not today. Okay, well, it got approved. So, you know, I'm sorry, but that's growth. And that's not a popular opinion. Right? We're moving lines today. We're not rezoning. We're not carrying sticks of fire in a meeting. We're moving lines on something that's already been approved. So somebody, whether it's these guys or somebody else, is gonna build housing there eventually. So we either want growth or we don't. We wanna be able to go through Chick-fil-A and have Mike Sexton's people say, "My pleasure." But if you don't have people to staff the thing, you're not gonna get a chicken sandwich. I think we can all agree we don't have enough housing and we don't have enough of certain things in this town. And without growth of housing, multifamily, these RV parks, these folks are not gonna live here. These are transient folks. They come into town to build stuff and then they leave, or they sold their house in New England and they've moved here in a $400,000 RV that they're gonna travel the country in with their dog. Okay, this is something that's permanent. And we're talking about moving lines at this meeting. So it's probably not a popular opinion, I'm sorry, but we're talking about housing and growth. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
There you go, that's all we ask. You know the drill.
Sylvester Warren III, SYLVESTER III, 832 Northeast Richardson Terrace.
All right.
I'm good to go?
You are good to go.
So, I think this is probably my second time speaking at one of these meetings, and we keep seeming like we're coming to the same circling and issue about when is Lake City and the folks who help make decisions to make this community more efficient, to make this community grow, make this community economically successful. And to do that, it takes certain aspects. And people wonder why we're the gateway to Florida and we have these mega complex sites in different places and these different corridors, bare corridors, and they're not fully developed out. I'm gonna tell you. CEOs of major corporations and Fortune 500 companies, they like Lake City, right? But they have to talk to staff too. They have to talk to employees. And when they start talking to the employees and bringing back feedback to their boards, and the families look at Lake City and they see quite a few things taking place, and the number one thing they see taking place is where we're gonna live at. And then they start looking at where we're gonna go to school at, right? then those companies be like, Lake City with the 2 interstates don't look so good. So we as people living in Lake City have a high housing crisis and issue, and then you got people that want to come and make Lake City and their corporation headquarters their home, but they don't have any place for their employees to live. And so I'm just asking that this planning and zoning board get up to speed, get out the way, vote on the necessary changes. Yeah, some people are gonna have some heartburns. People buy property. Property is meant to be developed. That's what people buy it for. And typically, my grandmother always told me, if you don't want nobody living by you, just buy up all around you, and then you won't have to worry about neighbors. And that's what she did. You know, my grandmother, she just bought up all around her. And so she don't have to worry about the neighbors, right? And at one point, I'm sure this property was for sale. And if the neighborhood didn't want it, they should have all pitched in and bought it and probably still have an opportunity. But I don't know whether or not the developer would be willing to sell it. But we cannot continue to have these conversations where we don't want houses, we don't want apartments, and ain't nobody got nowhere to stay. Right? Pick up the phone. I got probably a little over $4,000 or $5,000 in my pocket. I bet you can't get on Zillow and nowhere and find you nowhere to stay. I give you all the money in my front pocket. You can't find nowhere to stay. I have people calling me every day. I got over 50 doors that I own, and I'm planning to build 50 single-family homes and turn in 20 permits next week. It's impossible. It don't exist. And if we don't change our LDRs and we don't give the developers what they need to move forward, what are you gonna do? You're gonna become a homeless population. And then y'all gonna be complaining about we got homeless people. Then you're gonna be complaining about crime on top of crime, because when people ain't got nowhere to live, ain't got nowhere to stay, you know, Mr. Let Your House don't look so bad to break in. I'm just saying, I mean, let's get some growth going, man. And don't get me wrong, I mean, that's a nice neighborhood. I transported for the VA for about 20 years. I was #1 transporter for North Florida and South Georgia. So I'm very familiar with the commissary. And hey, look, it's back there, it's handling the route, it's handling the growth. We can adjust, man. People are just afraid of change. Well, I think once it happens, everybody settle down and accept the change that's coming. This world has changed. It's not gonna stay the same forever. Well, I mean, we lost the UF. We lost the University of Florida, you know what I'm saying? We've lost enough.
That was 1905.
Yeah, but we've lost enough, right? Because we don't want to change and we don't want to grow. We've lost enough. You know what I mean? Let's open this thing up. It ain't gonna hurt. I mean, you know what I mean? Growth will not kill us. It will only make us stronger and better, and we will adjust. America has adjusted to a lot. You know what I mean? You're looking at a black man. So, you know, if I'm saying it, you know what I mean? We've adjusted to a lot. So this ain't gonna kill us compared to slavery.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak either for or against petition SD 23-04? I remind you, you're still under oath.
I'm still under oath. I see the problem that Lake City has. I understand the situation they're in traffic. And one thing, Lake City, not just you guys, the city council, you haven't made any, the body has not made any plans for future growth. Thus, we're in the situation we're in now.
Yes.
I live out at the golf course, and we only have one means of ingress, egress. And it's tough if there's an accident at Commerce at 90, you don't get out. So I don't know what you guys can do, but you know, it's a tough situation to be in, and I can relate to the fact that it is difficult to get out on Bea if you're going west. Maybe if you're going east, it's a little bit easier, but something does need to be addressed. And as someone suggested, ride through there, and Sylvester is right. You know, people come to Lake City, but there's no place to live because nothing has been planned. Thank you.
Also, too, I'd like to say that there has been a couple of our veterans get hit in the middle of David Avenue.
If you're gonna speak, I'll need you to come to the microphone so you can be on the public record.
I would just like to say one more time that, there's been a couple of veterans that's been hit in the middle of Bay Avenue on their scooters because they're not either in the right lane or shouldn't be crossing that way or whatever. So it's for one exit and entrance, that's a pretty dangerous sight. I've seen it. I've been there almost 40 years. I've seen it, and I've been there since the place was opened. But someone's gonna get badly hurt over there.
You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board tonight, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Brad Bullard, BradBullard, 1157 Southeast Violet Place, Lake City, Florida, 32025. So basically, I don't disagree with what they say about like growth. I don't disagree with what he was saying about like holding stuff up. It's cool that he grew up in this neighborhood. I have a 9-year-old. She's right back there. We used to be able to go for walks and things, and recently, like they were saying, the traffic has gotten so much worse. So yeah, the idea of putting more housing back there, like once again, we're moving lines. I totally understand that. But the road is terrible going back into that neighborhood like everyone's complained about. So I just feel like until we see something about like the roads maybe being fixed, maybe we don't need to worry about moving lines so they can immediately start building more buildings back there, put more people there. So I think that's the big issue. Right there where it kind of turns on Sycamore, I have 2 vehicles, I can barely get them out given they are low. You know, there's been potholes, there's been like stuff running underneath the road. They just kind of barely got that fixed, but it's kind of been patched. And once again, we only have one entrance and exit. So the idea of more people coming in, you know, without any kind of like red light. I mean, there are many mornings where I will come out and just turn right to go down and turn left so that I can take my kid to school. So, and she won't be walking to Melrose, because it's way too busy to do that. So I think that's, you know, kind of mirroring what they've all said. It's more a matter of just like getting in and out of this neighborhood has been terrible. Roads are terrible. I just feel like something needs to be done about that before we start worrying about putting more housing here. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Jim, and then we'll get over to you. You swear the testimony you're going to give to the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Name with spelling and legal address record for Mr. Angelo.
Jeffrey Patrick, 689 Southeast Sycamore Terrace, Lake City, Florida, 32025. I just want to second, you know, most of the concerns about the traffic there. I live right on Sycamore, so I see the traffic all day. There's big trucks that come down that road. Like I said, the veterans very rarely use the sidewalk. Most of the time, they're just going straight down, walking straight down the road. There needs to be some sort of plan or taken in consideration for all that traffic that's going to be added. And as far as the watershed, my property is right there on the corner of Violet and Sycamore. The water pretty much accumulates right there and turns that road into almost a 1-lane road, actually a half a lane road. You know, you can sit there and watch vehicles trying to come through there, and they're having to wait on one another, piling up on one another at certain times. Now, it's not all the time, but, you know, and it doesn't take much of a rain for that to happen. You know, as far as growth, I understand growth, but I just recently moved in the neighborhood 5 years ago, and if something like this would have been back there, I probably wouldn't have moved in that neighborhood. I liked it because it is, you know, I mean, you do have traffic, but it is still semi-quiet. Now you add another 25 to 50 vehicles in that vicinity, moving right in front of my house, you know, that's not quite what I would like to see, but, you know, growth, you know, sometimes happens whether you like it or not, and I understand that. But, you know, I would, you know, say, would you want this to happen in your neighborhood? That's one question that I would just like to pose before y'all. Thank you.
There's some folks that haven't had a chance to talk yet.
pictures, that's what I was gonna give you.
You can submit those to Mr. Angelo, but we cannot take those from you directly. You, sir, you wanted to speak? You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Name, spelling, and legal address and record.
Jeremiah McInnes, JEREMIAHMCINNIS. And I'm at 678 Southeast Eloise Avenue, Lake City, 32025. So I just wanted to, you know, kind of echo what everybody else is saying about growth being needed in Lake City, and you know, I know there's always this sort of NIMBY attitude from people about growth, but I'm not sure that some of the logic we're being presented about Fortune 500 companies making their choices in Lake City due to this 16 family apartment complex or duplex complex that's coming up in there will make any difference there. What I can tell you is that that neighborhood back there is, as the previous gentleman said, a very quiet residential neighborhood. My wife and my wife's family have been on Eloise Avenue, just bordering that subdivision to the east all their life, and I know that that multifamily zoning that happened in that, for that plot of land was pushed through to the objections of a lot of the residents there. And I think if you put this type of a development in that area, it's going to completely change the tenor of that neighborhood. Because again, like I said, I think there's probably about 27, 28 single-family homes in the entire development. I walk past there all the time with my grandsons. Sometimes we go down Sycamore, we walk along the back street there, and you're talking about adding 16 more dwellings basically there, the 2 quadplexes and the 4 duplexes. So you're talking about a 60 to 70% increase in the number of people back there, the number of vehicles, as other people have mentioned. And then, you know, I just want to echo that there are a lot of problems with drainage. There's a lot of problems with the springs coming up. Right there at the corner of Magnolia at the back of this property, we used to walk through there a lot, my wife and me and my grandkids. And there was an actual spring in the road that had been there for years, just coming right up through the road. The pavement was all broke up. I mean, you could reach down with your hand and pick up pieces of it, and you can see the water coming up and bubbling out of there. And they've patched that now, but there's springs all over that neighborhood. The drainage is terrible, as people have mentioned. So I think there's gonna be a lot more problems than what may have been discussed. So just want to mention that. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone that has not yet had the opportunity to speak that wishes to do so? We'll start on my left, your right, and we'll start working our way towards the center. You swear the testimony you're about to give this evening before this board, to the best of your knowledge and ability, will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I so swear. Brian Wilson, B-R-Y-A-N, Wilson, like you said, W-I-L-S-O-N. I'm at 1082 Southeast Violet Place, 32025. I'm not gonna waste everybody's time here. I know you've heard, I just wanna parrot everything that you've heard from the residents there. We live on the southwest corner of the neighborhood as it exists today. I've been retired for a few years now, and I can tell you for sure that traffic down Sycamore, it's 15 miles per hour speed limit. Hey, if there's a UPS truck or a FedEx truck coming up, you better jump. And they're flying, usually 40, 45 miles per hour. They won't slow down. It's starting to happen. They're on the clock. I could only urge you to come down there and look at that in the middle of the day. Spend more than 3 minutes there. You'll see what we're talking about. And the big spring at the top of the hill on Sycamore, right where Magnolia Loop comes off, that's already starting to buckle again. We went through this a year or so ago when there was proposals up. And we talked about it with various people in the city. Next thing we knew, the trees were getting cut down across the street that were hanging into the road. They filled all the potholes in, as you've heard. But what was brought up a bit ago about when it rains a really hard rain, there's 2 storm drains on Sycamore just across the street from me. For 27 years now, I've gone out there when it rains hard with a shovel and a rake and cleared those storm drains out so we can get the water out all the way across the road. It's 6, 8 inches deep and completely covers the sidewalk on the other side that's put in for the veterans to get back and forth. You can't, as soon as it rains like that, I put my big mutt boots on, have to go out there and clear the road. The cars can get through there. It's probably only 3 or 4 inches of water on the away side of that. But the veterans on their electric wheelchairs and scooters, it's impassable. And as brought up earlier, the veterans a lot of times stay in the road. It's because there was no curbing, there's no access to the sidewalk. If you didn't get on it coming right out of the dom, you're not getting on it in a scooter or wheelchair. It's like this, the curb is. It's impossible. So yeah, they stay in the road because it's easier. But it's not safe. And adding more traffic there, it's gonna be problematic. I'm retired. I don't even know why I care. Except I hate seeing neighborhood go down like that. Taking enough of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who else has not had the chance to speak that wishes to do so? Ma'am. You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record.
Rebecca Morgan, REBECCA, MORGAN. I live at 1124 Southeast Magnolia Loop, Lake City, Florida, 32025. I just want to reiterate the issues with the traffic. There's issues now. If you double the amount of cars coming in and out, it's going to be a nightmare. Whenever the domiciliary, whenever there's shift change, you get all of those people coming in and out. Delivery trucks coming in and out. So not only are we dealing with our neighbors' traffic, but we're also dealing with that. And then when you add additional 25 cars coming in and out, it's going to be a nightmare. Just on the, when I've lived in the neighborhood about 8 years. When I purchased my home, I found out that it had been flooded many times because of all the drainage issues. We have done what we can to fix that, but there is, right here, you can watch the water come out of the ground. There's also another spot over here that they tried to patch, but it's still coming up. I walk my dogs around the neighborhood. They stop there every time to drink because they know that's where the fresh cold water is. I'm for developing. There's actually 2 houses being built right next to me right now in the neighborhood. Don't have an issue with that. I understand, that we need housing, but they are basically trying to they're stretching the limits as far as they can to put as many people in that small little area. Even just duplexes. The issue is just so many, so congested in one area. That's it.
Thank you. Ma'am, seated to her left, did you have exhibits that you wanted to?
Yeah, I just wanted to get into these pictures.
Were you wanting to speak?
Yeah.
Ma'am?
Yes.
You can present those to Mr. Angelo so that he can process those. He will distribute them to the board, and our attorney will make sure they're numbered for the record.
That kind of just shows. Okay. Thank you.
Sir, if you'd like to come down. You swear the testimony you're about to give to this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Name and spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Cole Ward, COLEWARD. Address is 1227 Southeast Magnolia Loop. So I'm a fairly recent addition to the neighborhood. I live at the very last house on the east side of Magnolia Loop there. Mr. Dan Gernon lives 2 doors down from me. I don't have a problem with development. I want people to come to this city and to this county. Quite frankly, my livelihood depends on people coming in. I do site prep construction, perhaps doing house pads, clearing land for house pads, driveways, all this kind of stuff for people. So job security for me, I do have an incentive for me to want people to come to this town. And as Ms. Morgan had pointed out, they're building the 2 houses there right next door to her. It's a tight fit, I will grant it. My yard is pretty tight. My lot's probably 40 foot wide across from side to side. But if you want to develop a neighborhood, a housing neighborhood, to try and bring people in, one, you want to have good streets, sidewalks, where water's not coming out of the ground, it's busting up your roads. And if people are wanting to live in a neighborhood with houses and people of similar interests and ideas, you build houses in a neighborhood full of houses. You don't build duplexes or multi-family apartments in a neighborhood full of houses. That's a good way to drive down everybody else in the neighborhood's property values. And I've spent a lot of money on my land to try and make it valuable. Miss Morgan, I've seen everything she's done. She spent a whole heck of a lot more money than I have trying to make their place nice, and they've done a fantastic job. Their place looks immaculate. Mr. Dan takes good care of his yard. His place is always nice. He's a pleasant neighbor. These multifamily units are going to bring, who knows what is going to be coming in there. And furthermore, I seriously doubt that anybody that has lived in this neighborhood over 20-something years or better, that has put all kinds of money into their property, trying to make it nice, make it valuable, and all this other kind of stuff, didn't do all of that effort just so that an outside development company can come in, buy a cheap plot of land, and then try and stack as much people in there as they can, and then drive everybody else's property values down. That ain't good for nobody. I don't care how you do affordable housing, I know we need it. Trust me, I look at property values and house prices all the time. And I grant it is hard to find affordable housing, not just in Lake City, but anywhere in Columbia County for that matter. But you don't solve one, you don't rob Peter to pay Paul. I mean, I hope what I'm saying is making sense here. Nobody else is gonna benefit just because you might save a little money on your rent every month when everybody else around you has got their property has been devalued because nobody's gonna wanna live in there with torn up roads, water coming out of the streets, and then you've got a multifamily unit in a neighborhood full of houses. That doesn't look good. You wanna add value to your city, you build houses in neighborhoods. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, is there anyone else that has not yet had the opportunity to speak? All right, Ms. Chadwick, would you like to offer rebuttal?
I would just like to reiterate that the owners purchased this as multifamily development. They've met the density requirements, the size requirements, all the requirements of the land development regulations. And as such, we would expect that the city would approve it because we have met their regulations.
I do have a couple of questions. First of all, understanding that this is already multifamily, what is the reason for replatting as opposed to just going ahead and exercising your right to build multifamily on multifamily as one large lot?
They are dividing it with the future intention of selling a duplex, the
Okay, so-
individual buildings.
This is for retailing these properties
Potentially,
as
yes.
purchase, not for
Right.
affordable
Right,
apartment
no,
complex
they're
rentals.
not doing this as an affordable complex house. I mean, it will be
Okay.
affordable, it will be living,
But the purpose of the replat is for future sale, not for
Potentially.
this to be
Right.
developed as a single complex.
no, it's not gonna be a single complex.
All right, I just wanted to make that distinction. And obviously, if there is an approval this evening, as Mr. Angelo said, we'll be seeing you back up here for a site plan review that'll probably be pretty robust on traffic, hydrology, ingress, egress, et cetera. Particularly as it relates, sounds like stormwater is quite an issue over there as well.
Someone needs to take a walk down that hollow down there and you'll see all the springs and everything in there.
This time, is there anyone else wishing to speak either for or against petition SD 23-04 as presented? All right, hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
Carter and McMahon on the second, by hand vote. Aye, hands down, likewise opposed. All right, public comment at this time is closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments.
Mr. Chair, I think, as you just mentioned and has been discussed, obviously, before anybody's breaking ground and building anything, there's obviously gonna be a lot involved in the site plan review. Honestly, a lot of the issues that people have brought up concerning it may be improved by letting it get to the step where they start to describe what they're actually gonna do, how they're gonna address water, how they're gonna address roads. I would recommend if that neighborhood is, it's a different district than I live in, but I would recommend giving your city council a real hard time if you need a road repaired. My neighborhood had some really bad roads a couple of years ago. A few of us gave ours a hard time and they just recently repaved them. So that's a whole separate thing. This is the wrong board for that, but I would recommend going to those meetings and talking to those people. As far as the replat goes though, like what Chadwick said, I don't think there's I think they've met all the requirements to replat it. There's nothing, I don't think that we really can disapprove that. But there's so much more going into actually being able to build something here. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Chris, do you want to talk about the Indian artifacts at all?
That would honestly depend on where financing is coming from. If any of this is coming from state furnished dollars, there are requirements of the Florida Division of Historic Resources which may require the proponent to conduct a cultural resource survey. Are we looking at state dollars on this? No subsidy, this is exclusively private development, private capital? Okay, in that case, the only thing we would have to confirm if this is in fact, how would the law apply here? I believe if it is a known prehistoric site that is on the National Register of Historic Places, that we may have to take into account, but it is not anything that would either accelerate or decelerate the process. If there is a cultural resource listed on either the National Register of Historic Places or with the Florida Division of Historic Resources as part of the Department of State, if there's a known archaeological resource there, we may have to get with Mr. Angelo, Mr. Young, see how the LDRs would play into that. Honestly, at the municipal level, I don't usually deal with prehistoric Native American stuff. That's mostly my bailiwick out on the National Forest. I know what the federal answer would be in this regard, but we'd probably have to, that'd be a question that would come up during the site plan review portion of it. And we would see what the processes were if this was in fact a known and declared Native American significant site.
Okay, thank you.
As any of those that live on the county side, they went to the county commissioners meetings to address those issues.
Can you speak into the microphone so we can hear you?
Have anyone gone to the county commissioners meeting, those that live on the county side, about the road construction?
Honestly, I don't think anybody knows whether those roads are supposed to be maintained by city or by county.
Well, it used to be all city, but it stops, after my house, it turns into county.
But today they were sweeping, the city sweeping the streets.
Okay, well, order, we're gonna have order. So it would appear that the city street sweepers are sweeping it, so I guess it's on the city radar is the answer to your question.
Yeah, so there's city and state, hopefully relief for the roads, and I think the VA people also need to talk to their residents about Stuber access to the sidewalks. I live very close to that. I understand the traffic is rough on Bea, and I see the veterans out there, so there's avenues to take, but as far as our decision, we're a little bit more of a narrow, as James said, narrow decision on this, so.
Mr. Angelo, Mr. Young, anything at the departmental level that's come through recently about this, or does the staff report still speak for itself?
The staff report is still the same as it was.
All right, this time, do we have any additional discussion amongst members of the board or city departments? All right, hearing and seeing none, at this time, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove petition SD 23-04 as submitted?
Mr. Chair, just want to reiterate very clearly to the citizens that are here tonight that this is a replatting only. There will be site plan reviews, there will be a whole process before anybody, it has to come before this board again, same publicly disclosed meetings. So with that being said, I would say that I'd like to make a motion to approve SD 23-04 as presented.
And second.
Carter, McCallum, With the second, Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Rand?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Lydic?
Yay. Unanimously, replating based on petition of SD 23-04 has been approved. I do admonish you though, clearly you have a lot of magnifying glasses on you and also some amongst members of this board. I can only stress that when and if it comes time for a site plan review, be thorough. I've heard issues of hydrology, I've heard issues of cultural resources, I've heard issues of transportation. You're no stranger to this. You're gonna get grilled with questions. So I strongly admonish you, do your homework, dot your i's, cross your t's. All right, if anyone else would like to stay for the exciting world of planning and zoning, you are all welcome to stay. If you have said your piece and would like to leave, please do so in an orderly fashion.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and speaking on behalf of your neighborhood. That's very important. We'll wait till they clear into the lobby before we continue. All right, moving along. Next item on our agenda, petition LDRTA 23-01, which is a text amendment to the Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, Section 4.15.5, to allow storage facilities for boats, recreational vehicles, and similar equipment by special exception within a commercial highway interchange zoning district. Mr. Angelo?
Alright, so this is LDRTA 23-01. This is for the CHI zoning district, the commercial highway interchange zoning district. So this text amendment will allow for storage of facility for boats, RVs, and recreational equipment and similar equipment. Currently, there is nowhere in the city that somebody can build a facility to store and warehouse a RV or a boat. If they do, it has to be in a completely enclosed building. And so as you see in some other other communities, you will see, storage of these facilities. Currently, we have a lot of RV parks starting to be pop up, and a lot of the yards in the area are not adequate enough to be able to house an RV. And this will be allow for developers to build and have the citizens have a place to actually store the RV in a safe location along with a clean location. So this will be done through a special exception, so it's not a permitted use. It will still need a special exception to be heard. That way we can fully review it and be able to move forward through there.
All right. Mr. Counselor, for the sake of record, do these amendments need to be read into the record, or can we just by proxy adopt them with our minutes?
So you would adopt them by your minutes, and then when it comes to the council level with the associated ordinance, then they'll read that into the record.
Okay.
So you're recommending to the council
Correct.
that to add this text.
Just wanted to know if I had to read that whole big giant bold-faced section.
And just for the record, in your agenda package, if you look at section 4.13.5, the requested text amendment is number 16 within that subsection, and it reads travel trailers, travel trailer parks or campgrounds, see section 4.2.22. I believe that's the text amendment.
Yeah, this that's the second one. This is the first one. This one is
Oh, this
for.
is- Yeah, let me find it, I got those.
The PDF is called LDR Commercial Highway Interchange RV and Boat Storage Facility Text Amendment.
So this would be section 4.15.5 under special exceptions, And it would be a new category, paragraph 3. And it reads as is in the packet with the sort of italicized, bolded language.
Yes, and you also see on number 2 in that same section, under travel trailer parks and or campgrounds, I have a strike through on where it says see section 20.24, and then we added in see section 4.2.22. Section 20.24 does not even exist in the LDR, and then, so that is a correction to the verbiage in there.
Catching typos, I like it. All right, anything else from Mr. Angelo? All right, and I assume you are, in addition to introducing this, you are acting as agent of proponent, or do I need to haul Mr. Young down to the podium?
Either one.
Okay, we'll consider you agent for proponent also. All right, thank you. At this time, is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition LVRTA 23-01? See, come on in.
Are you sworn back in again?
No, I remind you, you're still under oath.
Again, the board, y'all have been doing a great job moving forward. I hope y'all don't stop now in making the necessary changes so that we can catch up with the 20 or 30 years that we're behind with other major cities. Like we can't, I didn't even know we can't even park a recreational vehicle in a camper in a storage unit.
It moves at the speed of government, but we're getting better.
I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the work y'all doing, and I say this before I sit down, and Ms. Kellum, you can attest to this. Any given day that those folks want to trade neighborhoods with us, I would be more than willing. If that's all they got is a little water issue, a little traffic issue, we're ducking bullets and chargers, driving 100 miles per hour. I think all the water from the Lake DeSoto flow our way and everything else. And so, I mean, hey, I just didn't have a chance to tell them that we'll trade neighborhoods with them any day they want. And so if that's all they got to worry about is a little traffic and a little bit of water, man, they got a good piece of heaven there.
Thank you. All right, do we have anyone else that wants to speak either for or against petition LDR TA 23-01? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
Carter and McCellum on the second. By hand vote?
Aye.
Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, by unanimous acclaim, public comment is closed. Discussion amongst members of the board. Seems like something that should have happened years and years ago. We all good on this? All right. Do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove LDR TA 23-01 as submitted?
Motion to approve LDR TA 23-01 as submitted.
Second.
Carter and McMahon with the second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Rand?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Lighty?
Yay. All right, that one passes unanimously.
Yay.
All right, final item of business for P and Z, petition LDR TA 23-02. Text amendment to the Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, Section 4.13.5, to allow travel trailer parks or campgrounds by special exception within commercial intensive zoning districts.
Alright, so this one is LDR TA-23-02, and this would allow for the addition of travel trailer parks or campgrounds in this as a special exception in the commercial intensive zoning district. And so the same thing, we put it in a special exception, so it would still have to come through the Board of Adjustments and then be able to be heard and then go through the site plan review process. And kind of slow it down a little bit, but at the same time allow for, growth in some of these other areas. And especially you're starting to see a lot more travel trailer RV parks starting to come up all over This will allow for some of the land in Lake City to be able to be developed.
And this is exclusively within, okay, this is in CI, okay,
Correct.
gotcha. Anything else?
No, just, reason we chose CI, was, one of the reasons is it usually neighbors are, parallels with arterial roads. So the roads typically can handle a lot of the larger traffic.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance that, oh, I'm sorry, do we have any questions for members of the board for Mr. Angelo? All right, you may be seated. Do we have anyone else in attendance this evening that would like to speak either for or against petition LDRTA 23-02? Come on down.
So, I've been living for 43 years, and everywhere I go, in different cities, you can put a campground and you can put travel trailers in, and you mean to tell me we can't do this in the city?
This was just in the CI.
Yeah, I know in the CI, yeah, but in other CI districts, I travel a lot, and so it's just, again, I'm like, when are we gonna catch up? I mean, like this.
And I'll say again, it moves at the speed of government, but we're getting there.
This is, bless your heart.
May the record reflect that our hearts were blessed. Would anyone else like to speak either for or against petition LDRTA 23-02?
Motion to close public comment.
Very nice.
All right.
Second.
Motion and Mr. Mayor with the second. By hand vote? Aye. None opposed. Public comment is closed by unanimous vote.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve LDRTA 23-02 as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve with a second by Mr. McCellum. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Mr. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Leidy?
Yay. LDRTA 23-02 passes unanimously. Seeing no workshop items unless Mr. Young, Mr. Counselor, or Mr. Angelo, do you have anything you'd like to bring up under workshop before we close P and Z?
No, sir.
All right, seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn P and Z?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. By hand vote?
Aye.
Aye. Hands down. Likewise opposed. All right, moving along.
Thank you, P&D Board, for helping Lake City move forward and catch up in 20 years of behind time. I think you'll comprehend.
All right, at this time, I'm calling to order the Board of Adjustment, City of Lake City, 5th December 2023. Roll call shall remain the same. Meeting minutes of 11/7/2023 were electronically distributed. We've had ample time to review those. At this time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as submitted? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. McMahon on the second. Is Mary Beach on that one? By hand vote? Aye. Hands down? Meeting minutes are unanimously approved, Mr. Angelo. There being no old business and no new business, do we have any workshop items? Does anyone on the board, does our counselor, our director, or Mr. Angelo have anything you'd like to bring up for Board of Adjustment workshop items? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn Board of Adjustment?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second from Mr. Carter. All in favor by hand vote? Aye. Hands down. That is a unanimous call to adjourn Board of Adjustment.
Saw something funny.
All right. At this time, I call to order the Historic Preservation Agency, City of Lake City, 5th December 2023. Roll call shall remain the same. Meeting minutes of our November 7th meeting were distributed electronically. At this time, I do have one correction that I'd like to bring up on page 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth paragraph down, the paragraph that begins with Mr. Leidig stated. If you go after that first comma, he believes that section 10.6.6, 10.6.7, 10.6.8, and it should read or 10.11.2.2, and then it should read have not been met by the applicant. That's the only change I proposed to the minutes. Does anyone else have any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as electronically submitted? Do you need me to read that back, Mr. Angelo, or you got it?
I got it.
Fantastic. This time, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Motion to adopt the minutes after the corrections have been made by Mr. Leidig.
Second.
Motion and a second by hand vote. Aye. Hands down. All right. Having those revisions, minutes have been approved. Old business, we do have a tabled item. This would be for a COA on a residence I actually own. This was for the roof repainting in the historic district. As I would have to recuse myself from this, we still do not have a quorum present to bring this up. So at this time, do we have a motion for a continuance of the tabling of this item? Is that how we would handle that, or do we have to untable it and then retable it?
Your motion to continue the table.
That's why I chuckled a minute ago, because I saw that we still didn't have a quorum. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to, for a continuance for for a continuance of the tabling of COA 23-34.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Will you call the yeas and the nays, Mr. Angelo?
Ms. McCollum? Yes. Mr. Brand?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Leidig?
I can. Or actually, to table I can, yeah.
You can abstain because you have the quorum present, you just abstain from the vote, so it passes.
Remains tabled. Okay, we're continued then. All right, moving to new business. COA 23-38 submitted by Derek Schaefer as owner, requesting a certificate of appropriateness in a residential single-family 3 zoning district as established in section 4.5 Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, located within the Lake Isabella National Historic District as established in section 10.11.2 of Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, on property described as City of Lake City Parcel 13727. Mr. Angelo?
All right, this is for COA 23-38. They are looking to put up a wood privacy fence in the backyard. Due to this, the backyard of this location running along with the street there, and the neighborhood would be able to see this fence unlike some of the other backyards, and this you will see it, so that's why it required the COA for this one. But they're looking to put up a privacy fence. If you look in the pictures in the packet, directly across the street is basically the same exact fence that they're wanting to put up.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone here on behalf of Derek Schaefer? Do you swear to the best of your knowledge and ability that the testimony you're about to give to this board this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Derek Schaefer, DEREK, SCHAEFER, 348 Southeast Camp Street, Lake City, Florida, 32025.
All right, what would you like to accomplish?
I would like to put a privacy fence on my backyard, between my property and, of course, the street. And across the street from that is a multifamily housing unit. So kind of behind Hunter's Insurance is where it is. We're having it built by a gentleman in Wellborn, PKE Fencing. So it'll be a custom-made fence. It should look nice. It'll run along the south of my property, which is the backyard And then there is between my house and the neighbor is a abandoned city road. It'll run halfway along the western side of my property from the backyard. It still won't be visible from the lake or anywhere like that, but, just to kind of buffer that side of my property as well.
Mhm.
And that's about it. I have a pool in the backyard, so the privacy fence would be nice and all.
Sure.
Thanks.
Right, and actually, I do have one question before you come down. I see PGE fencing, I'm just making sure I'm not missing it. Is this gonna be natural wood tone or? did you
Yes, it will
mention
not be
color
painted,
swatch?
it'll just be natural wood tone, yeah.
That's why there's no color swatch in your application.
Correct.
Thank you.
And 6 feet high.
That's all I had.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance this evening that would like to speak either for or against COA 23-38 as presented by the proponent? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second?
Motion and the second was by Mr. McMahon, by hand vote.
Aye.
Hands down. Unanimously, we voted to close public comment. Discussion amongst the board. Seems good to me.
Seems like an asset, you should get there.
Mhm.
All right.
I need to pay more attention. I was looking for a color swatch.
Yeah.
Where's this abandoned road?
Oh, it's, yeah.
If you go to page 8 of his packet, you'll see the outline of the parcels. You see
The gap between Brown and
gap.
Camp.
Okay.
That's a former city right-of-way that I guess just hasn't been vacated.
Mhm. There's a few of those in that historic area there, little pieces.
Interesting.
Mhm.
I was just curious. Thank you.
All right, if there's no additional discussion from members of the board, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove petition COA 23-38?
Motion to approve COA 23-38.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Leidy?
Yay. All right, unanimous. Sorry I had to wait so long.
You really stuck it out there, sir.
We did it.
Things move at the speed of government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and so at this time, with no new individual petitions, let's finish up with our consent agenda, consisting of COA 23-39 and COA 23-40. Mr. Angelo, will you present the contents of the consent agenda for ratification amongst members of the board?
Alright, so the first one is for COA 23-39. It is for 216 Southeast St. John's. They are looking to replace the existing metal roof with a new Galvalume metal roof.
And okay, we've got that. It is metal roof. All right, and the next item?
Alright, the next one is COA 23-40. It is for 349 Southeast St. John's. And they are looking to replace the existing shingle roof with a Galvalume roof. Even though we're going from a shingle to a Galvalume, we moved this one through because of insurance reasons. If they did not have the roof replaced within a certain time, they were going to get canceled.
Mhm.
And the roof matched a lot of the ones in the area.
Yep.
And in general, for homes of this age, metal is the more appropriate surface feature to have on these roofs than asphalt shingles that didn't come around into vogue until far later, so. Honestly, how often do we see insurance issues like this where someone getting canceled kind of really pushes our agenda? I know we don't have anything in the LDRs allowing carve-outs and we're gonna see more of this
Yeah,
in
we're
the
gonna see
future
more and
moving
more of it.
forward.
And,
Yep.
Unfortunately, we hear it all the time, and that when people come in and they get roofs replaced, we don't hear about it in front of the board a lot of times because some of them wind up being in the historic district, but a lot of these wind up being, outside of the historic district, so they're in there panicking, getting a roof put on their house because they're gonna get canceled by their insurance.
Mhm. Well, We'll only hear about it all the time for so long.
Yeah, I suppose. All right, having heard the contents of those two petitions, do we have a motion for the ratification of the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. McGain,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Lighty.
Yay. All right, ratified a consent agenda. Last item of business before we call for adjournment. We have no planned workshop items, but at this time, is anyone on the board, or Mr. Angelo, or Mr. Young, or our benevolent counselor wish to bring anything up as a workshop item?
No, sir.
Oh.
My question is, when you can get another board member so you could take
Why don't you
that?
join us?
When you send an application in.
Working on it, got 2 empty spots.
Come on down.
I live in the county.
Well,
We can change that too.
Well,
annex you in.
If you know good candidates, the process is not terribly difficult. Have them get with Audrey's office,
Okay,
and the clerk will be able to send the links to all the necessary applications. But if you know of good candidates that you think would make a good fit on our board, please,
well,
please
what
advise
happened
them.
to Nelson?
He had surgery,
yeah, he's still on the board, he's just,
medical leave.
Can you do a Zoom?
No.
No Zoom?
I believe we would have had to advertise that a lot further in advance.
And you mentioned being on the historic register. Is there a sign to designate, like Isabella on the federal, or we just state, or
It's on the federal.
there's no sign anywhere?
Correct.
Could there be a sign?
There could.
Because I've already mentioned this to, Mr. Young, is that there's a house, I know it didn't go through any approval and has vinyl and new windows. He probably didn't know, I don't know, but something needs to be designated maybe on the tax roll next year, or any realtor or something sent out to these people so they know where they really are.
It would be nice, and I think in the county tax, property appraiser's website, I think there is a field that could be filled in for historic or not historic.
Or maybe, if somebody has community service, they could go put a flyer on everybody's door saying you're in the historic district.
That is beyond our ability to order. I would bring that up with council.
but Ms. Barber, you can make flyers if you want to. We have no ability to stop you.
Okay.
All right,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn in a second. By hand vote? Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed?
So our next meeting is the 3rd?
Correct.
Oh.
We have three meetings.